All right, everyone. So let's assume for the sake of this video that you have gotten your account relatively set up. You've got your chart of accounts created, maybe some tags, your purposes for donations, and you've set your starting balances. So now what? Well, the first thing that you're going to want to do is go up here to the top, click on Fund Accounting, and then click on Transactions, and then choose the transaction entry screen that you want to work in. So again, at this point, what we're assuming is that you have your account list set up, maybe some tags, and then some starting balances. What this is doing is telling Aplos, okay, here is the structure that I want to use going forward. Here are the categories and the things that I'm going to record stuff to. And then here's how much money I'm starting with. So at that point, now what you can do is just enter transactions and move forward. So let's go to the register. So in the register here, this is the transaction entry screen that you're going to use for any transaction that impacts one of your register accounts, which by default is any sort of cash or checking or savings type account, as well as credit cards. So once I'm here, I'm going to pick the account register that I want to work in. So say checking. And then this little field right here is going to add a deposit or a payment. So I'm going to come in here and enter my details. Let's just say that I'm starting Aplos as of January 1st. Today is February 6th, but let's just say for 2020, I'm going to use Aplos. So I have put in the starting balances as of the end of December to start entering transactions as of January forward. So let's say that there was a transaction on January 3rd of 2020. And I paid PG&E. I'm going to pay some utilities here. So I'm going to start typing in a payee, which if you press the space bar, that will trigger the list of people that are already in your account here. So you can go through and select the right one. If they do not exist, then when you start typing, it'll just say undefined, or if you want to add PG&E as a new contact. So I'll click that. And I'll say utilities bill, if I could spell. Here we go. Oop. Utilities, there we go. And then you're going to have a payment or a deposit amount. So since I'm paying money, this is money that's coming out of my checking account. I'm going to put in my amount there. And then I'm going to tab over to the check number field. If there is a check number, you can type that in there. And you'll see that any field that's required has a little asterisk here. And so those are required. Check number and comment, you don't need to worry about that, but they are there if you'd like them. And then you pick the account. So in the account field, you can begin typing in the name of your expense or whatever account you want to use, and that will kind of truncate the list. The other tip here is if you are in the field and press the space bar, that will then trigger the list in which you can scroll down and it'll be sorted numerically and by group. So I can sort down here to utilities. I'm going to pick what fund it's going to come out of, so my general fund, and then click submit. Now before I do that, there's another thing that you could do here, which is split. So if I click this, what it's going to do is open up a little other kind of entry screen here. Most of my information has been saved, but now what I can do is I can add another row. So if I wanted to split this bill up across multiple accounts or funds or even tags, I don't have them enabled, but you can have tags here as well. Basically, if you wanted to kind of divvy up the income or expense, whatever transaction by multiple accounts, funds, or tags, you can use that split function there to add another row and then add whatever expense or fund or tag you want to factor in there. If I don't need that, I can just click the X button to remove that. And then now I've got everything assigned to this expense account and fund. So I'll just click submit. And then what this is going to do is going to add it down here at the bottom to my transaction history. And then you can change how this is sorted as well. There's this little gear icon here. So I can choose my page size. I think it defaults to 25 there, but I've got mine at 100. I can choose to hide this fund balance chart, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then the sort order, I can choose to show oldest to newest or newest to oldest. But what that's going to do with newest to oldest is there is the most recent transaction. It adds to the top there. You can see now that I started with 11,800, and now with that $50, I am down to 11,750. And depending on what fund I entered there, my fund balances are now updated. So my general fund balance before that transaction was 7,000, but now with that entered in, it's 6,950. Okay. Let's go ahead and enter a deposit. So let's say that on January 5th, 2020, I had income, and let's say that, let's see what I have my income accounts. I'm going to do designated, actually do other income. So let's say I sold some t-shirts or something. So Alex bought some t-shirts, and that was $10. So I'm going to put in a deposit amount of $10. And a lot of people get tripped up on the payee. The payee just means what is the contact associated with this transaction. So think of it less as who you're paying and more of where is the money being exchanged. If you went to Best Buy or something, you can put in Best Buy there. If it's a person, that's there. So whatever the contact is. So I'm going to pick other income. Let's say this is for my outreach fund, and then click submit. So that is going to now, again, add to my transaction history. It's dated there. It's sorted newest to oldest. My balance went up by $10, and then my outreach fund has now gone up $10 as well. So this entry screen here, the register, again, is probably where you're going to spend 90% of your transaction entry time. There's a couple of the videos that we have here that are going to go through a donation as well as a journal entry and a payable. So stay tuned for those. But otherwise, this is the register. Again, kind of used for pretty much any transaction you would use for one of your register accounts.